We're back talking dat Vedanta, and today's reflection is on a great concept, one of my favorite concepts within Vedanta, which is the definition of love within this timeless philosophy. I don't know if I ever heard a definition for love for many, many years, and yet it's maybe until I was in my 20s that I heard an actual definition for this thing that our society and culture seems to be obsessed with, seems to talk about. There's so many rom-coms, romantic novels, so many romantic plots to so much of the fiction around us, and definitely felt like, okay, finding love, it's one of the primary goals in life. And yet I never heard a definition for it until I studied this philosophy. It's said that within this philosophy, if you can understand one line, one verse of the Bhagavad Gita, you're instantly realized. Meaning that in this very brief 35-minute read, 700-verse poem, 2,500-year-old poem, that if you can understand one verse, because it's so replete with wisdom, that if you can dive into one verse and truly understand it, you're instantly realized. Swami will often say that if you can understand one word, instantly realized. The word that I always think about is the word samaha. Samaha means sameness or no otherness. And this philosophy calls us to see no otherness in the world. Love within this philosophy is seeing no otherness in the world. Love is an identification. I'd love for you to write in a comment of any other definitions that you've come across that meant a lot for you. But this definition of love, of seeing no otherness in the world, it's not only beautiful because it gives it some definition, but it's also beautiful because the definition is total. It's not identification with another person. It's not love, some identification with something you're doing or people in general. Seeing no otherness in the world. And a form of identification, an exercise of exceptional, total identification. If you only love one person, this philosophy says that's preferential attachment. If I'm being candid, I struggle to say and to mean I love you to my own children. Because once you're hit with this definition, once you orient towards a higher, a selfless ideal around and definition around this word of love, you realize that so much of the time when we bandy this term love around, or we see it used so often in our lives or in our culture, we realize that's just preferential attachment. There isn't even identification with that other person, much less identification with the totality of the world or universe around us. You don't even identify with that other person. We just love the way that person makes us feel. And if that person made us feel a different way, then we wouldn't love them. Probably wouldn't even tolerate being around them. If you dial it down to where it's unbearable to be around them, would you still identify with them? Would you still say that you love them? Or would we cut ties, get a divorce, have an estranged relationship with a child that grows up that, you know what, this just isn't that, this is terrible to be around. So we're going to kick them out of the house. That is preferential attachment. Some pleasure or some feeling that that person or that thing gives us. That is not, according to this philosophy, take it or leave it. This is not something that everybody needs to adopt, but this is the definition of love within this philosophy. Seeing no otherness in the world. And it's not applied sporadically or in isolated cases to one or two people that you choose to love. This is a calling of complete surrender, not one of admiration or infatuation. Samaha, that's the word that I always think about when Swami says, if you can understand just one word of the Gita, you're instantly realized. Because that word and what it represents, that's many lifetimes of reflection to get there. But once I heard that definition of love, that 4-letter word took on new significance that I wasn't even really ready or sure I wanted it to take on. But I knew in some deep, deep way that anything short of that is not love. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Daily Vedantic. This reflection is part of a free repeating 2-year course in Advaita Vedanta. Rooted in the timeless wisdom of the Upanishads, arguably the oldest philosophical texts on earth, you can begin with episode 1, which gives the 15-minute overview of the whole philosophy of Vedanta, or you can join the journey with any episode at any point. But the critical aspect of this course, of understanding and mastering anything, is to study and reflect, even for 10 to 15 minutes on the timeless each day, preferably at the start of your day. As is said in this philosophy, reflection is 100,000 times as powerful as listening. So listen, journal, sit with, discuss these concepts, or ask questions at thedailyvedantic.com with our AI-powered chatbot, informed by about 700 episodes here, as regularly as one can, if you want to see clarity and peace almost effortlessly unfold in your daily life. And if it doesn't result in a near immediate increase in clarity and peace, then toss aside and feel free to never listen again. One of the things that you might notice is after 7 or 8 days in a row, this doesn't feel like a discipline. This feels like a visit with a best friend to dive into the timeless with daily reflection. Within a few days, it becomes one of your favorite parts of the day. You can also find out more, including news about in-person events in Los Angeles and beyond, at The Daily Vedantic on Instagram, or through our weekly newsletter at thedailyvedantic.com. Additionally, check out the links in our show notes for more resources like the books that are mentioned most frequently in the episodes, including Vedanta Treatise, perhaps the simplest and most straightforward read on this philosophy I've ever come across. Until next time, and from the entire team that works on the Daily Vedantic project, thanks for listening.